Click the links, join the channel, check out the subscribe, Sarah. So the societal engineering continues. It just, you can't stop progress. So I see things like they're talking about Snow White and the object to be rescued by the prince is the princess sort of thing. The trope throughout stories. Fun, mostly European stories are the ones they're turning on. They're subverting expectations. Yeah, because they expected something good and you're giving them something not good. And we say, we criticize the story. Goes, so yeah, but the stories where the little girls or the princesses are the objects to be rescued. People are totally on board with that. Both sexes, both genders are totally on board with that. That's what sells. I'm just telling you, like what sells, what people want, not what people say they want, but what they actually really want. And the people, the Mary Sue types, that type of mentality, the 30-year-old wine mom, gets really triggered by that. But it doesn't change what sells and what doesn't sell. It's like, we're going to turn it all on its head. We're going to have the Disney girl. Is this Disney? Yeah. She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be involved in a romance. Like, yeah, but that won't sell. Oh, but we need to get kids to. And as soon as they start saying that, everything is propaganda. Everything is a narrative. But before, I don't know how many decades ago, the propaganda was more, the narrative was more on the side of tribalism, nationalism, family, core structure, blood connections, and then it slowly warped across that spectrum into globalism, found family, cut off your roots, reject your blood tribe for this new, diverse, even better found family. It's like, that doesn't make any sense, but through the power of TV and propaganda and movies and controlling the most powerful companies on earth, you can sell that narrative of the plucky ragtag band of the found family has to reject their roots. It's like, form something new. So you're rejecting the millions of years and the countless generations that got you to this point to reject your family. You better have a really good reason to do that. And so far, what we've seen with globalist stories is they don't have a good reason. It's just social engineering. These people are globalist parasites. They're the worst people on earth. And it's not the actors' fault, or even a lot of people who are working on the shows. A lot of them are puppets, and then as you go above them, some of them are more puppet mastery than others. Then you keep going up and up and up. Anyway, so Snow White doesn't need a man. Or, subtitle could be burning money for giggles. They would have been better off taking that money and spending it on something to put up their nose. So there's no love, there's no rescue, and it has a modern. As soon as you say modern edge to a story, people just start rolling their eyes. Go, oh well, I guess. Like, if you're not dipped out of Disney by now, why? I can't imagine anyone who's still on board with Disney, especially after all the weirdness they did with Florida and DeSantis, and now they're doing weird stuff to kids. And you look at Disney, you're like, Disney's not Disney that it was in the 90s. That was 20 to 30 years ago. Anyway, so in this new story, she's going to be a leader, which is just what little girls want to see. No, little girls don't want to see that, and little boys definitely don't want to see that. They want to be the leaders. In fact, that's most human stories are going to have the boys taking those roles, because biologically speaking, that's kind of what they're engineered to do, because only one of the genders can have kids. Oh, you bigot, you've triggered me. Yeah, it's just the harsh biological imperative that only one side can have kids and take care of kids and nurse kids and produce milk for the kids, and the other side can't. That's why biologically young men are more expendable than fertile young women. It is what it is. Everyone knows their roles in life. Hollywood seems to try to confuse that, but all it does is lead to a lot of miserable people who would have been happier when they were young and like partnering up at a young age and starting their families young, like our grandparents did. They were 18, they started having kids, getting married, having kids. Anyway, so no English subtitles required. If you remember the West Side Story debacle, Spielberg, the show that lost over $100 million. And $100 million is not nothing. That's not just a movie that breaks even. That's not a movie that loses a little bit. To lose over 100 million, even for big production companies, that's a pretty good chunk of change. So I can only assume that this movie is also going to underperform. I don't think it'll bomb exactly, but I think it'll be like two failures in a row. The West Side Story had Spanish scenes with Spanish language, right? But it didn't have English subtitles, which is going to explain why it tanked. It feels, she goes, oh, it's disrespectful to have it in English. It's like, well, isn't it disrespectful to the audience? Oh, I never thought about that. Yeah, but you lost $100 million. That's a lot of money. Congratulations. They make movies that people don't watch, which is like, sometimes you got to talk to these people real simple and just go, yeah, but people won't pay you for the content you produce. Oh, but they should. They need to be educated. They need it. Oh, you're the worst people on. Aren't you the people that fly to Epstein's Island and applaud Weinstein for years? Yeah, but we learned from that. Hashtag Me Too. Yeah, but you guys dropped hashtag Me Too after it caught the wrong people. Okay, but we're going to lecture you anyway because we have very short attention spans. Anyway, I mean, fundamentally, they make stuff people don't watch, and they hate their audience. It feels like the audience doesn't, they feel like the audience, like they don't think the audience knows what's in its best interest. What's that Rolling Stone song about the mass of grays and whites? But these vile worms do know what is in your best interest. And when she was interviewed about the West Side Story movie, she said, it's current year. It's time the audience should learn Spanish. Or, they could take a year and learn Spanish sufficient to read or listen, hear, translate the words. But instead, they simply chose not to see the film. And the 100 million Spanish speakers who were your potential audience, they don't want to see a bilingual film. They just rather see it all in Spanish. That's why there's Spanish language programming. The bilingual audience that wants to go back and forth is actually very small. People prefer one language or the other, which is why you lost over $100 million. But Spielberg got to virtue signal, and it's losing other people's money. So I think this movie is going to do fine. It's a young girl running around as a princess, so it's kind of got a built-in audience of millions of girls from 8 years on up. It's got a girl in a pretty costume. That's basically all little girls care about, as long as she wears a lot of pink. Though I guess in this, she probably won't be in pretty costumes because that's something about the systematic patriarchy, existentialism, and praxis. It's like they just have a checklist of words of the day they go through. None of that makes any sense. It's all you guys just pushing Bolshevik propaganda that has a long history of just fertilizing fields very, very well. No, but it's different this time. I don't think it's going to be different this time because I look at the people pushing it, and people look like ivory tower idiots. Anyway, so it'll have the Mary Sue crowd, and I mean like the 30-year-old oh-so-random woman who will drag her kids to see it, and they'll probably force their boys to dress like the princess. But girls want to see a romance. They don't care if the princess is the object to be rescued. Most women like to be the object to be rescued, to be put on a little bit of a pedestal. That's just how men and women are. You're not going to change that. Women like to see themselves as a prize to be, gone after. A prince that doesn't need a man defeats the point of the story, which makes you wonder why they don't simply write a new story. Because they can't, at least not anymore. They kind of painted themselves, like all this woke stuff for the past 20, 30 years, kind of painted themselves into a corner. And where anything they write now would be so insanely woke from the start that nobody would see it. It would just be, a trans furry BLT otherkin right from the start. And like it, okay, well, like Bros or something, even woker than Bros. Like nobody's on board with that. That's why they have to do the bait and switch, which is everything you see now is a bait and switch. Where aren't you culturally appropriating European stories? Yes, we are, but the rules don't apply to us because we're the filthy Bolshevik parasites who make the rules. So it seems like Hollywood's got a lot of bombs recently, as if the audience is not on board the woke globalist agenda. And why would they be? They're trying to retell classic stories, but full of feminist propaganda. But even feminists don't want to watch feminist garbage. 50 Shades of Grey was a hit. It was a book that was made into a movie about a girl getting spanked. Chicks went to see The Secretary, not Charlie's Angels or Vagina Terminator. The Hollywood idiots make the movies they want the cattle to see. I mean, if you look at books women read, that'll tell you a lot about, and I'm not going to say it's telling you everything about women. I'm telling you, it will tell you everything about the female market. Those are two different things. You don't need to know everything about men or women. If not, if you're in sales, you just need to know what the market will support. And a lot of these people seem to forget that really basic equation of what movies do I have to make that fulfill my artistic creativity, but will also make money. So those kind of two things have been the Hollywood guidestone for a long time, and now it's like it's not doing either one, because I know this is not fulfilling your artistic Nobody grew up and said, I'm going to write communist propaganda from Mao's Little Red Book. Thing is, eventually they're going to run out of other people's money, but I mean, there's no shortage of venture capitalists for Hollywood, I guess, who throw money at people. Or maybe they launder money with it. I don't know how that works, where you lose $100 million and you come out ahead. They use the big hits to subsidize the woke bombs, like something like Bros. If you're not an istophobic weirdo, you need to see Bros. Imagine not being istophobic in current year. Every day I struggle to become more and more istophobic. Why would anyone pay to support a worm like Eichner? Even to look at that guy makes me feel dirty. That movie was horrible. I saw it online. I didn't pay for it. Very few guys want to see other guys kiss. It doesn't make sense to us. We see it as something wrong. I think it's a visceral, subconscious thing of, it's just a wrongness. It's like there's this sickness in the tribe or something. That might have been too much for YouTube. It's anyway. So the truth isn't istophobic. It's time more people were just honest about what cancer all this stuff is. Fundamentally, they're the problem. They're racist, hateful, bigots, anti-white, anti-Christian. They need to be more tolerant and inclusive of diverse opinions, and they need to examine their own anti-blonde, anti-red hair, anti-light eyes hatred. You know what I'm saying? If they want to make a show about a Mexican princess, then just write a new story about a Mexican princess. How hard could it be? But their goal isn't to create new IPs. Their goal is subversion and corruption. They want to take everything Europeans created and warp it and twist it to serve their propaganda purposes. They hate you because you are a person of the light. They are Lucifer's children. They are the breakers in Stephen King's Dark Tower series. They're destroyers. It's all they know. Like entropy personified. It's not enough to just not watch this kind of stuff. It's important to crap all over these people and call them anti-white, because it's literally what they are. It's literally, the thing is called Snow White. The character's called Snow White, and you're replacing it with not a German Snow White girl. It's not acceptable to erase Europeans from the stories that European people literally wrote. Speaking to them in the same SJW language, if you have to, it's something they understand. But you can speak to them like that, like an asshole, and you base everything on feelings, because you can always refute their hate speech appeals to emotion based on feelings. Also, you feel marginalized and oppressed. You feel disenfranchised and othered by this hateful anti-white European erasure. Honestly, the conversation is never going to go anywhere, because it's one appeal to emotion versus another. You can't win. It would just go on forever with feelings. But the truth of the matter is that, yeah, they're culturally appropriating sacred European stories. Yes, if it's the story is, yes, it's sacred because it's created by and for the European people. And the fact that you want to change that is disgusting. Instead of just creating your own stuff. I mean, what they say about evil not being able to create, you look at it and like almonds will really start to activate. Erasure is one of the stages of genocide. And we're actually quite a few steps in on those stages of genocide. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next episode.